I think Bitcoin helps with giving you equality of opportunity on an economic basis that you don't have before. That average person consumes more media today than ever before in human history. It's mostly TikTok videos. That's a problem. Nostr is not going to solve the fact that the average 16-year-old just looks at stupid videos.
Demand presupposes that there is value, that there are people that see value in it. So you cannot say Bitcoin is valuable because it's scarce. No, you could say Bitcoin is scarce because it's limited.
So I don't know if money is something that is going away in the sense of being a footnote in history. I think that's a very weird thing of looking at things. The worst case scenario for us is that Bitcoin for some reason doesn't work out, right? Is a world without Bitcoin even possible? Because Bitcoin is, in the end, it's just the market reacting. But like innovation in money has been suppressed for so long. Bitcoin is way bigger than AI. I'm a journalist, but I don't like following the news so much because it just, ruins your day basically. Elon Musk says that money is a footnote of history. I think writing is a footnote of history.
%93% of the viewers of this channel aren't subscribed. If you enjoy this content, a like, comment, and a sub really helps my content show up for others too. Thanks so much for your support. We're talking to Niko Jilch. He's a podcaster, a Bitcoiner. Is that how you would describe yourself?
Yeah, I'm a journalist basically, but I do podcasting and I do YouTube.
Yeah. And how would you? What is freedom for you apart from the financial system?
It's in your head. It really is. I think it was Václav Havel who said, "Freedom starts when you act like you're free," and it really is. It's all in your head. It's like fear. Like most of the fear is in your head. It doesn't really exist. Most of your problems don't exist. And the same thing is with freedom. So of course you need tools, and there is certain parameters like the country you live in and the laws you have to abide to. And I hope I never end up in some sort of jail situation. Of course, then when they take away your freedom directly, that's a bit shit. But apart from that, it really is. It sounds cheesy, but it's a state of mind. Mm-hmm. And of course Bitcoin. But Bitcoin really, for me, it just unlocks like your potential. It's not really about like the purchasing power or anything.
Yeah. And do you have a personal limit where you would say, okay, my freedom isn't enough now to risk this or that? Let's say with regards to what's happening in Europe. So you said you don't want to end up in prison. Is there a limit where you say, okay, here I stop?
Here I stop doing what?
Pursuing my freedom at all costs?
Well, I mean, I think you should never stop pursuing your freedom. It just depends on what the situation is. I think that when it comes to political stress and political problems, I think it's important to be able to either fight basically for your freedom, maybe in a political way, maybe in a media way, not in a physical way. Hopefully not necessarily in a physical way, but also, I mean, at some point you just have to leave.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, especially with regards to free speech, I think free speech is kind of under attack here in Europe. How do you feel about that?
Yes and no. I mean, you can really view it from both perspectives. It's not. I mean, you can say anything you want. It depends on.
There can be consequences.
Of course, yes, there can be consequences. But like I said, you can argue this from both perspectives. Yes, you can say anything you want. Yes, there's going to be consequences. The consequences will always be there, and they've always been there. There's also in the US. I think in the US you have more freedom of speech, absolutely no question. But there will also be consequences for certain things that you want to say or want to stand for. I think that it's not smart to just be negative and just say, well, we here, you can't say anything anymore. But I think you have to try and you have to live free, like you are free, and also deal with the consequences. I hope that the consequences are not too severe. In order to have freedom of speech, there need to be people who actually use it, right?
The freedom to say whatever they want.
Yes, exactly. So I don't want to be too. We're in Switzerland right now. People in Switzerland are very free, right? And the situation. in Austria, where I'm from, in Germany, has been a lot worse than it is today. So I understand the fear, I understand the problem, I understand the skepticism, but I also want to say that not all is lost.
Yeah. What do you think about Bitcoin? If Bitcoin prevails and becomes, let's say, the monetary base layer, are there inequalities that could emerge from that we cannot foresee from now?
Oh, I mean, probably saying Bitcoin is the monetary base layer is such a huge step and such a huge development that the consequences are not to be foreseen today. Is a ledger that is fair with everyone involved better than what we have today? I would say yes. But of course there will be inequalities. I mean, people today, there is inequality. There will always be some sort of inequality.
But not because of the mechanism of Bitcoin.
It depends on your perspective. I mean, if we look at people who bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, they will be a lot richer than they are than other people. Is that a form of inequality? I don't know. I mean, I think maybe looking only at how much money somebody has is also the wrong perspective on the question of equality. I think that equality is just a wrong question. What is equality? It doesn't exist. Nobody is equal. We're all different. So yes, should you have equality of opportunity before the law? Absolutely. Yes, everybody should. And I think Bitcoin helps with giving you equality of opportunity on an economic basis. That you don't have before. There is no equality of economic opportunity today because people who have lots of money, rich people who have access to credit, will always be in a better situation than people who don't. Right? When it comes to asset, when it comes to buying real estate, art, even companies, with Bitcoin that's different. Bitcoin gives an equal footing for anyone that wants to use it. So in that case, there is equality of opportunity, but not equality of outcome.
That wouldn't be so good. Yeah. And you worked in traditional journalism for a long time, right? What do you think about the state of the media in Europe today?
It's a big question again, because Europe is a big place and there's many different countries, and I don't know a lot about the state of the media in, I don't know, Italy or Switzerland maybe, but I don't know, Spain, Portugal. Basically, I think the situation is very, very similar to many other industries. You have this huge shift to digital media, to the digital world, and the old companies haven't really come to grips with that. Some have, some haven't, and they are fighting it. Like the banks, like the central banks are fighting Bitcoin, the media is still fighting basically the internet, right?
Because of losing control.
Yes, because of losing status, and the control is it's not like a function itself. It's something that if you worked like 20 years ago, if you worked for a media company, you had the status of a gatekeeper, and you don't have that anymore. And they are pissed about that and very sad about that. And also the traditional model for a media business doesn't work anymore. But on the other hand, I think that when you look at the big picture, what are we doing right now? There's like, you have a cell phone, you have a microphone, you have two cameras. You are, like Elon Musk said, you are the media now. I am the media now. Everybody is the media. And I think once you get over that, you will see that people consume a lot more media today, and they also consume a lot more journalism today. And it's actually very positive. And the old, like, as long as we are fixated on what is happening on the television news, I think it's like, don't give them your attention, and you don't just forget about it. You know, it's not that important anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, some institutions have a lot of power still, and maybe not rightfully so. But what do you think about Nostr as a solution? Could that solve a fundamental problem as Bitcoin solves a fundamental problem for the monetary system?
I wouldn't say, I wouldn't go as far as to call myself a Nostr expert. I think that any form
censorship resistant.
Yes, any form of censorship resistant, decentralized protocol, be it for media or information like Nostr, be it for money like Bitcoin, is a good development, and it's good that we have it. Is it something like a solution? Solution always implies a problem, right? Right now we have so many different, like the people, the average person consumes more media today than ever before in human history. It's mostly TikTok videos. That's a problem. But Nostr is not going to solve the fact that the average 16-year-old just looks at stupid videos, right? There is a basis for information on a decentralized way, and that's a beautiful thing. But you can say the same thing for the internet. Basically, we are still grappling with the internet, right? We still don't know what the internet really is. And this is just one more chapter in that fight. And yes, I will always be happy about open media, open discussion, and open flow of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a different question is scarcity or limitedness a better word to describe the characteristics of Bitcoin?
If you want to go there, it's probably limitedness. Because there is a limit to Bitcoin. Scarcity is relative. It depends on how many people are going to sell Bitcoin, right, and how much Bitcoin are on the market. So scarcity is maybe not the right word, but words, what are words? Right. There's the show Succession. Have you seen the show Succession? HBO show. It's a very good show. There's this character, the son of the patriarch. The patriarch is it's a media family. He's like a media mogul. Like we're talking about media, and he said, and his son said about some sort of contract negotiation. He said he was told that we talked about this, right? And he said, words. What are words? It's just complicated airflow. Right? So it doesn't really matter what word we use. There is a fact that Bitcoin is limited and it has consequences. And the consequence is some sort of scarcity in certain situations. And it doesn't really matter what words we use for that doesn't really matter. It's more like the consequences of that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting because I think words are there to get common ground, but also everyone can have different interpretations. Exactly. But scarcity, let's say, needs an exterior factor. I heard before, Bitcoin is valuable because it's scarce, but I think that's not true because scarcity itself presupposes that there is value. Otherwise, it wouldn't be scarce.
Bitcoin is valuable because we are putting value into, we are seeing value there. Value is always subjective, right? It's like beauty. It's always subjective. So if a person says Bitcoin is valuable because it's scarce, that's his or her interpretation, his or her reason for valuing Bitcoin.
But if we're sticking to a definition, then it's factually wrong because I think scarce is something where the supply is less than the demand, and demand presupposes that there is value, that there are people that see value in it. So you cannot say Bitcoin is valuable because it's scarce. No, you could say Bitcoin is scarce because it's limited. And if you're
Bitcoin can be scarce because it's limited. It's not by definition scarce because it's limited. Yeah. But again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, as long there's 100,000 different reasons why people would value Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin, right? Go to ask people on the street if our money is still backed by gold. 50% will tell you we're still on the gold standard, right? So it's not going into the detail about is scarcity or limitedness the right word is an interesting intellectual thing, but it really it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. What do you think with AI and robotics? I had a discussion before where we had the thought experiment where we thought, okay, what a perpetual motion machine is? So a motion machine that keeps going by itself, which is which is physically not possible. But we thought robotics and AI could physically not do that, but mimic the outcome. So you could, automate a lot of things like food production, the whole infrastructure. So we would not have to do a lot of, we wouldn't have to put any more or just very little effort into it. In such an environment, how does money, what is the role of money there? Because Elon Musk said with robotics and AI, the money becomes a footnote in history. What is the role then?
I didn't know about that quote. I mean, it's very basically that's what has always happened in history, right? We are, our generation, even the generation of our parents, we think work is going to an office, sitting on a very comfortable chair and staring into a screen, right? Our grandparents and great-grandparents' work was actually something you did with your hands, probably, right? Maybe not the grandparents. Even the grandparents, they didn't have a computer, but they went to an office, maybe. But like 100 years ago, work was different. So of course, I mean, we're all kind of interested in, like, what is work? Work is what we don't want to do, right? If you make money with something that you really enjoy doing, is it work?
It can still be, but most people
wouldn't say it's work, right? For me personally, I'm very happy. I do what I love to do, but there are parts of it that I consider more work than the others, like taxes, right? Because taxes are annoying, and so robotics and AI are really just the next step in an evolution of technology helping us live better lives, basically. So the money, and goes to what Jeff Booth says. I think he does have a very, very deep point there. It's like he says, basically, we live in technology gives us deflation. Everything gets cheaper. The equipment that we use to tape this would have cost you a couple of millions 20 years ago, right? And we wouldn't be doing this. So this gets cheaper, and then on the other hand, our monetary system is based on inflation, and at some point these things diverge, and it gets really problematic, right? And I see Bitcoin as a very like the perfect synthesis of deflation and technology, right? So Bitcoin is basically like the direct you directly profit from technology deflation without even doing anything. You just sit there and hold Bitcoin, right? Which is basically the same thing that the cantillionaires do in the fiat system. They also just sit there and hold fiat, but they take it from other people. So I don't know if money is something that is going away in the sense of being a footnote in history. I think that's a very weird thing of looking at things. But maybe we will use money for less and less things because there is technology layers that do that stuff for us, like AIs that pay each other for specific tasks to help us live our lives. I mean, Bitcoin is one part of the digitization of whatever we can digitize, right? And we have been doing this for the last 20 years, and it's not going to stop. And I think that what we do right here on a conference and what you do in real life will only get more important than before. And now we do so many things with our computers and our cell phones and the internet, and so we don't pay for things anymore that we paid for before, right? Nobody buys a camera anymore, or a fax machine, or a radio, or even a television.
True, yeah. That has changed a lot, that's true. Democratized a lot. Last question, what do you think would be the world like if there was no Bitcoin?
Well, a bit shit.
There would be a lot less hope, no?
Exactly. I mean, that's what I say. If like the worst case scenario for us is that Bitcoin for some reason doesn't work out, right? And I always say, well, if it doesn't work out, we're only the same shit as everybody else. So I'm thankful for the fact that we do have this, and also, is a world without Bitcoin even possible? Because Bitcoin is in the end, it's just the market reacting. But like innovation in money has been suppressed for so long that with the advance of the internet and the freedom of information that we have now, we've seen the emergence of Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin is such a big thing that other like AI, Bitcoin is way bigger than AI, because AI is something that everybody can agree on is the next big thing, and if everybody can agree on that it's the next big thing, it's probably not, right?
Really? Yeah, that's an option, you think?
Yeah, I mean, sure. It's like if everybody agrees on something, then it's got to be wrong.
Really?
Yeah. It's like I mean, AI is an interesting thing, but right now, honestly, it's just a better way to Google stuff.
Well, I did a survey about AI, and it was very interesting because the young people said like, I don't even use Google anymore. I only,
Exactly.
and the old people were like, yeah, I heard of AI, but I never use it. I don't even know where to use it. So there's a huge gap. But with the young people, you see, they're not even using Google anymore.
No, and I don't look, but again, like that's just the first step. Like that's just a better way to Google stuff. But I can still not go on. I cannot go to ChatGPT and say, I want to go to from Vienna to Zurich on that day. Get me the cheapest flight. Do it now, right? That's what I want from that stupid AI thing. I want to, like here's all my my invoices and receipts. Do my taxes, right?
We're very close to that, I think.
Yeah, no, I know, but still, it cannot do anything that we haven't taught it before, right? And it cannot rely on any form of information that humans haven't put into the world before. Yes, it's great. I use it all the time, and I love using
You do
it.
it.
Yes, I do, and also like when it comes to gathering information, it's great because it does something that for me has been missing. It presents the information in a way that is not cluttered with commercial interests. Like when you Google something, you will always, like, if it's a popular question, it will always be like some shitty website that wants to sell you something. There's banners everywhere and ads everywhere, and then the second thing is if it's like news, right? When we talked about this before, I don't like going on Twitter because I'm a journalist, but I don't like following the news so much because it just ruins your day basically. It's our brain. My brain is not made for thinking about what is von der Leyen doing, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Israel. It's like everything's like all the bad news. My brain doesn't want to like compute that. So AI is a good way to search for stuff and get it presented actually in a rather boring and not so emotional manner. So it can actually get us away from the emotional like layer of social media that I think is negative. So I use it sometimes because I do YouTube, so I have to do thumbnails, and yes, I have to tug on your emotions a little bit that you can press the button. But then on the other side of the thumbnail, I'd like to present content that is not only like aimed at your emotions of greed and fear and all that stuff, because it's just that's not how we should be living our life. We should be thankful for the sun and the trees and I'm getting very emotional here. No, but so AI I like it. But I use it mostly in an experimental way so far, and to just see what is possible, the way it develops, and I think it's going to be very helpful. Yes, but helpful I think is the thing. It's not going to be replacing any of the actual important human stuff that we thrive on.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I mean, with me, I do see in the past I wrote a lot of stuff, and now I let AI generate a lot of text.
Yeah.
And when I have to write something, I'm missing the idea because I'm so used to getting examples provided, and
Yeah.
I can deal very well with.
So I've been writing.
It really changes my way of working and thinking fundamentally, actually.
I've been writing for 30 years. Right, I've been like a writing journalist for 20 years. I've been at the newspaper for more than 10 years. I've been writing millions of characters every year. I consider like writing is great, but in like
But not so important.
well, if you want, like Elon Musk says that money is a footnote of history. I think writing is a footnote of history. Writing is just a way to communicate ideas over time and space, right? But we are not like biologically, we all want to sit around the campfire and talk to each other. And that's why I do podcasts. And that's why you listen to podcasts. And that's why we do videos. And that's why we talk to each other, right? Writing is nice. I love reading a book because it gets me on a whole different level of consciousness, right? So I'm not saying books are going to go away. I'm not saying writing is going away. But for certain tasks, and certain things, writing is actually not the best way to do it. And if AI takes away our like need to write stuff, I mean, I use it to write my emails sometimes. I mean, it's a bit shit that I could do the writing myself, and it would probably be quicker. But on an experimental basis, I try to play around with it.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, sounds interesting. Well, thank you so much for your input. Thank you.
Thank you very much.